5?
Yep. Wish I could go wide angle. Can't go wide angle though.
I wish I got PB Blaster, to be honest with you, but I got the press, it don't matter. The U-joint press. All I'll do is I'll just let that cool down.
Okay, come here.
Come here, Ro.
Camaro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come here, Doug. Dog. Come here, dog.
Yeah, so what are we doing here?
U-joints in the jack shaft.
And this is for the Kenworth.
It is for the Kenworth. The Kenworth's been great, but I've known since Florida that these were no good. But I kept tightening up the caps. But finally it got to the point where I got sick of tightening up the caps. They're just, the screws are just, it was just time.
Yeah, no, I get that.
What happens is the caps start to spin because like 2 of these, the caps are supposed to be welded to the end. Not this one, because this one's frozen in here. But, which one? This one. So you see that one?
Yep.
That one should look like that one. This is actually a good cap. I broke that off. This is a bad cap because you can see the cap was spinning under here. And that's not good because it eggs out the hole in the yoke. Then when it does that, you got to get a new yoke. I'm going to get a new jack shaft. I was there this morning and I talked to them about getting a new one. Normally I have these made, but I think the price of getting one made versus just buying a new one, I don't think it's much of a difference. Because by the time they cut this, they'll cut this weld here. They'll take this shaft, the spline in here, off. They'll put a new one in. But this is probably worn out too, this yoke. So the only piece they're really going to save is right here, this tube. So what's the point? You know what I mean? If you're gonna cut this off to replace the end, if the cap spun this side, and then you're gonna replace that, to me it's not worth it. It's just like too many worn out old parts. And I don't know, I knew about it. Now this is easier to do with a gun, but I don't want to drag the gun and the air hose and everything out for one frozen cap. So have big wrench. I had this to break it loose. I had this end under the tire of the truck, and I just threw it up here on the bench because I got tired of bending over. But I'd have to run the air hose, and I'd have to go find the gun, and plus I need the exercise. So it's only this side. These there's only these 2 caps. Those 2 came right out. These 2 I just gotta pop loose, but there you go. So it's not that much work to get out. It's funny because see how this cap is like rusty and this one is shiny? Someone who doesn't know anything would think that the rusty cap is the bad one. The shiny one's the bad one. It's not supposed to be shiny because these caps are not supposed to spin inside the yoke. So this cap is no good. What happens is the see this rubber? There's a seal in there, and the seal goes bad. Just old, and just these are probably just old, and they just go bad. Like, and then what happens is you're constantly greasing it, and then all the needles that are in there, because it's a needle. The cap is basically a needle bearing. So
Where'd the dog go?
come here, dog. So
Here, buddy.
the way the cap works is you have all these needle bearings. There's a whole bunch of them that sit in there, and this rotates. And then the thing of it is it doesn't spin fast. It just, you might get like this much rotation out of it. It doesn't rotate that much. you know, as the U-joint goes around and does like this motion, it doesn't rotate that much. So these do last a long time, but you know, buying this truck used, see where it spun? See, it like broke off from the weld and the cap was spinning in there. This one didn't break off. I broke it off. See how it's all rusted? That's what you want to see in a cap. You want to see it rusted, solid, or you know, stuck on there. You don't want to see it. You don't want to see shiny like that. That means this was spinning inside here, like so. And what happens is when that spins inside there, it will egg out this hole on the end of the yoke. And then it ends up being loose. Hopefully the cap wore down and not the yoke. But I do have plans. I talked to them about getting a new jack shaft. So when I say jack shaft, I don't really know its real term. I just, ever since I was a kid, everybody always called the shaft between the two screws, or a twin screw. So call them screws because where the pinion gear goes in and turns the ring gear, looks like a big screw, like screw motion. So if you have dual axle, where's the dog? Oh. If you have dual axle, you have you know, tandems, 1, 2. We call it twin screw. So you have 2. That's just what I was told by the old guys. That's what I've always called it. So between the twin screws, the little drive shaft, the big drive shaft comes out of the transmission, goes through the carrier bearing, then goes to, or center bearing, carrier bearing, I've heard it called different things, then goes to the front power divide. Power divide is the front rear axle, and what it is when you flip the air switch in there, there's an actuator that activates this axle that divides the power from the engine between these two rears. So this morning, this kid was asking me how it works. Basically, on the front of this pumpkin or this rear end, there's a big, we call it chuck. It's basically on like a car or a pickup. All of your gears go in through the backside of the axle housing. On the big trucks, they go through the front of the axle housing. So on the front of this axle housing, where the chuck goes in, there's an air actuator that shoves the gear into another gear, which spins the front. It's air activated. That's your power divide. Then you have some trucks, this isn't like it, but then you have some trucks that have full lockers. So not only do they lock this axle and that axle, then there's 2 more buttons that will, and some of them have 1 button. But I drove this Western Star that had 3 buttons. One was a power divide, and the other 2 were diff locks. So what that does is, first you hit the power divider. If you still can't get out, then you hit your diff locks, and then it turns these axles into posi. So all 4 sides of the rears spin. Normally when you're driving, like on, you know, your average, you know, just driving down the road, usually you'll just have like if you get stuck and you look back and you're spinning, a lot of times you'll see like the far rear one spinning. So the rear axle does most of your driving, and the rest carry the weight. You get stuck, you flip the power divide and hope that this kicks in and that's enough to get you out. Then if that doesn't get you out and your truck is equipped with full lockers, then you hit the locker buttons and it locks everything in the rear. Then if that doesn't get you out, you know, call a tow truck or get a chain and a piece of equipment, because then you're screwed. But this little shaft that goes between the rear 2, and it's tight in there. I don't know if Bryson show him. Like, I had to crawl in there. It goes between the front, you can see the front yoke where I have it disconnected, in the rear yoke. So basically, this is that little shaft, and it's a slip joint. So it goes in and out. There's a spline in here under this dust shield, and it goes in and out. Now, I don't like this. It has a tiny bit of play in it, so I told them I want to order a new one. But until that comes, I'm throwing the stick.
Throwing the stick for the dog.
But until like I get the new one or something. Now this is a U-joint press.
Come here.
And basically what it does is it presses on this part of the U-joint and pushes the cap out that way. Then you flip it around, stick it on there, and then push this cap out that way if they're frozen. And then you basically turn sideways and then just take it out. And then in the center of these, this one broke, or I broke this one, but in the center there's a grease fitting. And as you can see, there's no shortage of grease. I've been greasing this thing like crazy and checking the caps since we bought this truck in Florida, because I knew it had an issue with this. So I once a week I go underneath this truck and I check everything out and I grease it. But it's got two of them. They're usually opposite. That grease fitting and then that grease fitting. But I found when you press these out with that, the U-joint press, it tends to break the fittings off. Now the new one, these are Spicers. They're the 18 series, I think. So I gotta clean all these parts up. I'll show you real quick, but I'm not gonna put any of this.
Phone's gonna die in a couple minutes.
Well, I'm not gonna put any of this stuff together dirty, but I just wanna show you, when you get the new ones, they come in a tray like this.
And compare that to the old one. Thanks for the likes, guys. Appreciate it.
So you can see on the new one where the grease fittings go. So when you use the press, hey, go lay down. When you use the press, what it does is the way that it fits in there and presses it breaks them. But when you put it together, the new one, see all the needle bearings and see how the seal is not ripped? So that's what the new one looks like, and you gotta be careful you don't bang these around and drop out the needle bearings. So I like to keep them on there till I'm ready. But here's the thing, there's a lot of different, so before you go to the place and just say I have U-joint or whatever, the numbers on the ends, my guy doesn't care about that. You gotta take a tape measure and you have to measure from here to there. And hey, no barking. He's gonna start.
Brian Ayers says, "What's up, Big Bad Steve?"
Hey, what's happening? So before you go to buy one of these U-joints, you want to measure the yoke. You also want to keep an eye out to make sure that you have the screw caps and not strap caps. Strap caps, come here. On the front one, which I got to do next, has straps. And those straps right there go around like that, and then they bolt in. And it's just a little metal strap that straps it. There's no cap on the end. But that is a 7-inch, from there to there is 7 inches. Now on these, this is a cap one. There's no straps that lock it in. As you can see, on the other one, this wouldn't be here. And this would just be the half moon shape, and then the strap goes on like that around the cap. So like if the cap was here, that strap goes in like that, the metal strap, like so.
Yeah.
And the screw goes in this way. So what you want to do is you got to make sure, because a lot of times guys will change the yoke and they'll get a different style yoke and stuff. What happens is this is 6 inches. So this shaft here is 6 inch and 6 inch. So you just want to measure it, because I've ran into trouble before where I haven't measured. They don't care about part numbers. They're usually more concerned about measuring the distance. And then when you go to order this jack shaft, right? Let's say you want to get a new one. You find out how far this slip joint goes out, right? If it stops right there, All right. What you do is you want to get it you want to measure that distance, right? Pull it till it stops, measure this distance. Then you want to find the halfway center. And then you put it to halfway, and then you measure center of this cap to center of this cap. And that's what you tell them when you order a drive shaft or you have a drive shaft made. I've had tons of drive shafts made for different trucks that I've like put together. Stop it. And that's what you tell them, from center to center with the slip joint at half. And then they can figure it out because it needs to be able to move. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I gotta clean this up. I know everybody's been wanting dirt videos lately, but it's winter time and
It's probably what? How cold right now? 35 degrees?
yeah, something like that.
It's really cold. Yeah.
In the winter, I just haul sand. I've been hauling sand to the beach. All of our beaches here are road, and that's what I do in the winter. Last couple of years. So the videos have been on the dirt work's kind of been slow. Everybody around here, the season hasn't really started. Nobody's really doing dirt work. I have a couple of jobs, but I can't film them. That's another problem with YouTube is you can't always, a lot of people don't want you to film stuff. So, but I'm working on the second part of doing the pintle hitch plate. I won't show you, so I won't spoil it, but that came out great. I'm really happy with that. Got this truck to dump all the way up. The reason why you want your truck to dump all the way up is if you're backing in and stockpiling an area that's a small area with a bunch of different trucks and your truck don't dump all the way, you're spreading your load out. You're kind of making it hard to get a bunch of loads in before the loader has to come and push it up. So if you're like the one guy that's like messing up the flow of everything, you know, you're not really the guy that's liked. So, but other than that, the Kenworth's been great. I knew I was going to have to do this when I was in Florida, if you guys saw the video on that. And I don't know, other than that,
yeah, that's been cold.
That's kind of what's been going on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to clean this up and put this thing back together. I got some cans of brake cleaner. The easiest way to do this though is to get your U-joints in here, put this thing together out here.
Ramen, come here.
And then put it in the truck after. Don't try to put all this together under the truck. Get yourself a bench, clean all this off, clean everything, and then go underneath there first, clean the yoke. You don't really want to push these new caps through dirt and everything, and you don't want to get dirt and grime in there. So I like to clean everything. The other thing too is if you're getting a drive shaft made, and go lay down. Hey, go lay down. He's fine. He'll go lay down on the grass. If you're getting a drive shaft made and you're putting it in your truck, make sure it's in phase. So make sure it's phased. So what that means is if you take this apart and you stick this in there and this is not in line with that, that's not phased. You kind of want it all phased together. Usually you won't get these back from the drive shaft place in two pieces. The reason you won't get these all apart in two pieces is because it's balanced on a machine. So what they do is they spin this thing and they will either put a weight on it, like see that weight? They will tack weld a weight on it, or what my guy does, because the weights fall off, let me see if you have a good guy, instead of adding weight, he will drill holes and take weight off. So a lot of times you get these yokes, they're pre-balanced, and what they do is at the factory or wherever manufacturer, they put a drill. That's a drill. You can see how the hole is tapered on the inside. They only went in a little bit and took enough off, and this one's a big one. But my guy, instead of putting the weights on there, like so, I've had these fall off before, and you're scratching your head, and you're like, man, I don't know why my truck's shaking like that. First thing you do is go check your U-joints, because 9 times out of 10, you got a bad U-joint. If you still can't figure it out, make sure the weights didn't fall off the drive shaft. If the weights fell off the drive shaft, pull it out and go have it rebalanced. They'll stick it in the machine like this one lined with that one, and they will high speed spin it, and the balancer will tell them where they need to add or take off weight. I like it when my guy takes off weight. What he'll do is when he builds these shafts, see the tube here, how it has that weld? Well, he builds his shafts and he spins them in a lathe, and his lathe is a custom lathe that balances too. I haven't seen it. He told me about it. But what he'll do is he'll take the lathe and he'll build the weld up here when he welds this spline onto the tube. This is just pipe. Spin this in there, he'll get it spinning, and then what he'll do is he'll take the lathe and he'll come out and he'll just shave a little bit of the weld until it's perfectly balanced. He'll just take weight off in certain spots. But I know that because the first time.
Phone's dying. This,
right.
Yeah, doing live really kills the phone battery super fast.
Well, anyways, real quick. First time that the guy ever did that for me, I got the drive shaft back and I was looking at it and I was upset, and I walked back in and I kind of gave him a hard time because I said, you didn't balance it. You charged me for balancing it. Where's the weights? And he said, you're an idiot. He said, I don't put weights on them because they fall off. He goes, that's old school. So,
yeah. Makes sense, though.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. And, you know, I was just used to what I was used to. But that's my little thing on drive shafts.
Yeah, pretty good.
Not super interesting, but it's interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to wrap this up because the phone is gonna die. I didn't start this with a full battery, but it does kill it real fast.
Yep. Well, all right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I'll try to get some dirt videos out as soon as I can, as soon as the weather turns here. All right. Have a good one. Catch you on the next one.